But I reckon we get straight into the Brighton United game
Let's go.
because you and I were watching that game and we had some very,
I was live.
very
I was on Instagram live. I kept trying to request for you to get into the call. You kept rejecting me. I thought maybe, you know what, he thinks it's a booty call. Don't know.
look.
Uh,
I wasn't in the mood to talk. Okay, yeah, no, I was. There would have been a fair few swear words thrown, and we can't have that.
we've been requested, though. So, I mean, more of them to come. Saturday night, I'm going to Crystal Palace versus Spurs. I'll be on that.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no, that was look. That game was a joke. Okay, so
it was a joke for the
Brighton
Premier
hit the
League, I'll tell you
post
that
five.
much.
Brighton hit the post 5 times. Trossard hit the post 3 times by himself. He hit the left post, he hit the right post, and then we go to the second half, and he hits the crossbar to finish off.
He was doing the post challenge.
That is the perfect hat trick of posters. Okay, forget left foot,
Seen
right
that
foot
before.
header.
In a football game. I've never seen someone hit the post. Well, I've never seen a club other than a team on a Saturday or Sunday here, you know, where we are in the Sunday league, hit the post that many times. That's because they can't shoot. This guy, and he didn't just hit the post, he hammered the post.
Rifled it, yeah. He hammered the
I
post.
think he needed one of these Jose Mourinho moments. He needed it
Yeah.
to be 5 centimeters higher.
But honestly, you watching that game, who did you think out of the two teams had top four aspirations watching that game? Or better yet, Premier League title ambition. Who do you think wanted it most?
Well, I said before I spoke about Brighton briefly in our preview show, saying that the way that they played last week into this week in that 3-4-3 system, that they are looking really, really good. I will almost go to the extent of saying I don't see a difference between Brighton and Leeds United because the way that they play at the speed at when they pass.
How dare you? But go on.
No. Obviously, Leeds are a much better team, but I can't wait to see those two teams at each other because Brighton, just the way that the ferocity, but also their centre backs pushing forward because sometimes what they do is they'll split their centre backs as wing backs, just like how similar to Sheffield United do.
Yeah.
But we said at the start of the season, I hate teams that sit back, and they did not sit back against United. And to answer your question, if you're a top 4 team, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you sit back for 100 minutes and enter the simulation game later on, you are not a top 4 club anymore when you sit back on teams that are lower than you. I can understand you have a system to play and you want to defend, but they don't even defend. It's not like they sit back and absorb pressure like Arsenal did against Liverpool. Yes, Liverpool dominated possession and got a lot of shots, and they actually played very well. But at least Arsenal had a structure. Chelsea, under Jose Mourinho, structure. Even when Jose was at United, there was some form of structure. But in this game right here, I will tell you now, and I've said this before, that bloody coach, Solskjaer, has no chops of understanding tactical awareness and positional awareness in football. He should not be in the league.
Look, it's hard to argue with that because I agree 100%. I reckon out of 90 plus or however many minutes we were in the game, they probably dictated the play for about 15 or 20 minutes as a whole. Towards right at the very end of the first half, after Brighton scored their goal, then they clicked into gear, quickly got an equaliser. They did all right for the rest of that, 10 minutes. And then to start the first half, probably like the first 10, 15 minutes, they were playing okay. You know, they were doing well. They were moving the ball around, created some chances. Now, granted, they did have 2 goals that were offside. ruled out, and by small margins as well. It wasn't by a big margin.
Brighton should have had a penalty too.
Yeah, I know. But again, it was, I don't know. It just seemed like they were disinterested, and they were like, they just randomly clicked into gear. They were like, all right, maybe we'll actually try for this period. But Brighton completely outplayed them. But you just saw that their players wanted it so much more. They worked so much harder, and it showed. And they deserved to get a result. That is the most undeserved win I have ever seen by a team, ever.
I've never seen it.
That is a joke.
And I'll tell you how undeserved it was before we speak about the VAR. 53.3% possession for Brighton to 46.7% to Man United. Shots on target. This is some FIFA stats. 5 shots on target to 3. Obviously, 3 of those hit the post. Shots onto the post.
They're not on target. No. So basically, it's 10.
18 shots altogether to 7. 676 touches to 622. 488 passes to 445. Do you know how many clearances? We're talking about soccer here. We're talking about football here. We're not talking about AFL clearances. Do you know how many clearances Man United had?
How many?
21 clearances. That's what Bryce Gibbs gets.
Yeah.
Does he even play footy anymore?
He actually just retired. So
retired from the Adelaide Crows, didn't he? But that's, some Patrick Cribbs, roving out of the middle. 21 clearances as a team in football.
It's just
no possession-based, no skillful tactical team has that many clearances unless it's crosses. And it wasn't even crosses from Brighton. They were just bombing it out. It was a disgrace.
It was a disgrace.
That's where I want to talk about VAR here in this. Brighton should have had a penalty. I'm sorry for people who actually thought that their penalty was weak, the one that was given and then, obviously turned.
Yeah.
If you talk about VAR as a whole, that weekend just showed not VAR is a problem. The refs are the problem. Because VAR is a real-life moment shown to you. If right now I show you something recorded and you see it physically with your eyes as evidence, someone murdering someone, then turn around and you go, yeah, but you know what? No. That's it. Not even a reason of a doubt. You have given no explanation as to why the penalty has been turned over. But then to give a penalty in the 100th minute.
To be honest, that handball in the very last minute from the Leicester player, that header was going into the top corner off the deflection. I'm pretty sure if that went in, there would be absolutely zero complaints from Harry Maguire whatsoever. But
look,
of course, it was headed off the line.
For me, it was not about it being a penalty. It wasn't, because to be honest, he went up with his hands. If you're defending, you never go up like that, even if someone's at a body. So at the end of the day, I would give that penalty, but it's more of the fact that it came in the 96th minute.
Yeah.
It came after the score. Usually what happens is when someone scores in that minute, you usually let them, the ball went back. As soon as the ball goes back, right, you have to call it because the team is wasting. But it's not like they kicked off and quickly had a shot. It wasn't like that.
To be honest, if I was Leicester at that moment, because they blew the final whistle, and then they checked the VAR and made that decision. If I was Leicester, I'd get off the ground. I'd leave, go down the tunnel, get in the change room.
Said Leicester 3 times.
I mean, sorry, Brighton. Right.
Yeah.
If I was Brighton, I would leave the pitch, go down the tunnel, start showering. No, I'm not going back on. Final whistle's gone. Unlucky.
Too bad.
But that's just.
But let's continue with the VAR. The Spurs game and the Palace game. Obviously, Brighton should have had a penalty. We know that. It should have been given.
Yeah.
Maybe even twice. One of them wasn't, but one was. Spurs game, like, honestly, as much as Spurs should be going and winning by more against depleted and lost Newcastle,
Yeah.
but that call on the VAR was absolutely disgusting. And I think that was worse than the robbery that happened against Brighton, because it hit his hand, but it was nowhere near intentional. These new rules, I swear to you, it's just so we can talk about it, which is great, but it's only for the pundits. It's not for anyone's benefit.
Well, look, there's already so much grey area with the handballs and giving away penalties just in the general run of play, let alone having to watch it, rewatch it, and all that, and then make a decision based off it. Like, that's the problem. What's going to be deemed like normal motion, like where a handball isn't going to get paid? Because like when you're in the act of jumping up for a header, you don't jump up like this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you need to elevate your arms a little bit. So what? That's technically normal hand movement.
Well, that's
like
the same thing as the Crystal Palace game against Everton. Was it, I think, Richarlison and Ward. Ward's one of the most experienced defenders in the league as a right back. He's been there, done that for many years. When you defend, you don't defend like this or with your hands behind your back unless it's in the box and the person's going to cross. But if you're up against, Mane or against, even Richarlison, anyone really that's fast, a fast winger, you need your hands to mobilize yourself in order to move around, right? It's just physics. It's part of the game, right? And then to call it the way it's called, especially if the player's hand is down by his leg or whatever, it's just a very grey area. People are blaming VAR. I'm not blaming VAR. I am for VAR because there's a lot of games where things should be called, whether it's for us or against. It doesn't matter. I think it's fair. And the reason it's fair is, imagine right now you go for a shot and someone handballs it, but the ref doesn't see it. Like, says it off the line, just quickly taps it. A few years ago, when Thierry Henry tapped the ball in with his hand to qualify France for the World Cup. Things like that are obvious need to be reviewed because it damages the game. But these calls are horrendously bad. It's not even, the refs are shocking. It's almost
obvious.
Fucking cheating.
They're not obvious calls at all. Like, that's
not obvious.
And to be honest, it's going to get to a point. I don't know if this is potentially their way of evolving the game, so to speak. But I think the days of 0-0 draws are gone. Like with VAR the way that it is, the way that the decisions are being called as they are, there's not going to be any 0-0 games. You're going to get a VAR decision once per game where it's going to be a penalty. The only time it will be 0-0 is if they stuff up the penalty, basically.
No, you're absolutely right.
It's getting to be a joke. I mean, how many times does it happen in a normal game? And I don't agree, because at what point do you stop? Like, then they're going to start reviewing, obviously, all these penalties. Everything inside the box is going to be magnified and focused on in extreme detail. Then once that's done, they're going to move it to the rest of the pitch. I mean, there was a decision where Mane had a stray elbow. I forgot who he hit, one of the Arsenal players. And like that didn't even get reviewed. That didn't get looked at or anything like that. There could have been a case for that. But
could have been,
yeah, but see, that's the point. Like,
he was given a yellow card. But it's also, I will go on the front and say, just like basketball and just like NFL, right? Calls like that need to be made because refs don't see everything, right? Especially handballs. But this is where my problem is. If I do check VAR and I go look at a screen and I'm the ref and I know the rules and say, well, look, he did handball her, but he didn't mean it. It wasn't like he slapped it or whatever. He jumped up and it accidentally hit his arm and it went down, it's only because the ball hit or it bounced and it hit his head, hit his hand, or he fell over and hit his hand, or whatever it is. And you go, yeah, but that's like, you're not going to get a penalty or a free kick for that. So why are they giving it, though? I think there should be challenge calls.
There needs to be a rule where, regardless of where the hands are, if they're within certain range, like if they're within your body range, like even if it's up here, that if they're still within your body's range, like in your core, in that sense, not stretched out, if they're still within your core, like if it hits it here where it's above your shoulders, but it still hits your hand, like what are you meant to do? I'd love to see people jump up with their arms by their side.
Remember Pogba was it the first game of the season? Or no, it was towards the end of Project Restart where, I can't remember which team it was. I think it might have even been Palace. No, it was West Ham. West Ham had a shot after a free kick and Pogba went like this.
Yeah.
And he hit him, obviously. But that's a natural reaction for anyone. It doesn't matter who it is. Because if that was down the park, they probably wouldn't give it. But as soon as it comes into the box, it's always given. The problem with football, the problem with soccer, it's never consistent.
Yeah.
There's never a consistent basis of rules and regulations and the way the game should be played. One person will go studs up, not get a yellow. Next person gets a red card. Little things like that. Refs all need to be exactly the same. Like I was watching back the Liverpool game, and it's all over Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff. When Lacazette missed that shot against Liverpool, the second one, the ref was running down and he's missed and he's gone. Like, as a fan, you're like, Jesus Christ, but as a ref, you need to keep it professional. That's why you shouldn't be reacting like that, because to me, that's like, wait, why are you reacting to? Why do you give a shit who scored?
Are you a fan? Yeah, I know.
Like, that's not fair. And obviously that Spurs game was absolutely horrendous. But in saying that, Spurs should be winning those games. I don't know. How do you feel about that with Spurs?
They should be winning those games. I mean, I know Mourinho likes his 1-0 results and stuff like that, but that team...
Not in the league that we're in now.
What was that, sorry?
We're not in the league that we're in now. I don't think that tactic works.
No, it doesn't.
Teams just getting 100 goals a year and stuff like that. I don't think it's...
100 goals plus VAR with penalties, given the way they are, teams are always going to be in the game. All you need is a corner or like a split second, and you've got a penalty. So I think Spurs should be winning that game, considering the gulf between the two teams and how much better Tottenham team is compared to Newcastle. They should have put that away earlier. But again, a missed opportunity for Tottenham. That's what it is. And